The major archaeological find left researchers and German church officials feeling like Indiana Jones. But with the rush of fresh air threatening to alter the remains, the clock is ticking to identify the body inside. After months of preparations, an international team of researchers were able to open a 1,000-year-old sarcophagus at the St. Johannes, St. John's, church in the German city of Mainz. Using a pulley system, the team lifted the 700-kilogram, 1,540-pound, lid off the grave and took a peek inside at remains that likely haven't been seen in a millennium. "We all got to feel a little bit like Indiana Jones," Mainz Dean Andreas Klotz said at a press conference. Researchers found male human remains, although it is still uncertain who is buried inside. The body was likely covered in quicklime shortly before the sarcophagus lid was put on in order to speed up the decay of the body, but that also makes identifying the remains difficult. "Not even teeth could be found," Swiss archaeologist Guido Faccani said. Who is inside? Historians and church officials alike hope that the remains in the grave can help solve some of the historic mysteries surrounding the St. Johannes Church, which is one of the oldest in the city. The body is believed to belong to Erkenbald, the Archbishop of Mainz, who died in 1021. Should this be true, it would make the St. Johannes Church the first cathedral in Mainz, which was once a powerful territory in the former Holy Roman Empire. Besides the human remains, researchers also uncovered pieces of fabric and cloth shoes, as well as the remains of what appeared to be a bishop's hat. The sarcophagus location in the central nave of the church, and the fact that it was pointed towards the altar, also indicate the person buried inside was a church official. "It's still possible that it's him," Faccani said. The team of archaeologists, anthropologists, and textile experts will now examine the remains using carbon dating and DNA samples from tissue and bone samples. They will need to work quickly, however, as the remains and specimens inside the grave are now exposed to the fresh air for the first time in what is likely 1,000 years and could change due to the oxygen exposure. Archaeologists from the Mexican National Institute of Anthropology and History, INAH, announced the discovery of an amazing 600-year-old Aztec sculpture depicting a golden eagle in an ancient temple in Mexico. The eagle, which measures 106 centimeters x 70 centimeters, is the largest statue ever carved in the temple. The eagle is carved into the floor of a building at the foot of the Templo Mayor, the iconic pyramid-shaped temple that was built in the heart of Tenochtitlan, the ancient Aztec capital, and is now in modern Mexico City. The bas-relief, a type of sculpture with images carved from a stone background, was created by artists in the mid-15th century during the reign of Moctezuma I. Archaeologists from the Mexican National Institute of Anthropology and History discovered the inscription in February 2020 as part of the 9th season of the Templo Mayor project, an ongoing excavation of the sacred site. It is a very beautiful piece that shows the great secrets that Templo Mayor did not reveal to us in Mexico. Thanks to the efforts and dedication of archaeologists, we can continue to restore our history and our memory, Alejandra Frausto Guerrero, Mexican Minister of Culture, said in a statement. Templo Mayor, also known as the Great Temple, was a huge pyramidal structure located in the center of Tenochtitlan, which was the heart of the Aztec religion and culture. At its top were two chapels dedicated to Huitzilopochtli, god of the sun and war, and also the patron of the city, and the rain god Tlaloc. The temple was one of 78 buildings that made up the sacred area of Tenochtitlan. The Aztec leader Itzcoatl, who ruled between 1427 and 1440, built the temple for the first time at the beginning of the 15th century. Subsequent rulers Moctezuma I, who ruled from 1440 to 1469, and Huitzotl, who ruled from 1486 to 1502, made significant contributions to the temple. The prominent eagle sculpture fell into the floor of a building adjacent to Templo Mayor, and was covered by another floor over which it was built during the reign of Huitzotl. This is why it is in a good state of preservation. It is an element that the Spaniards have never seen, said Rodolfo Aguilar Tapia, the archaeologist at the institute who led the investigation. Today, the stunning eagle statue sits under the intersection of two streets in Mexico City. However, when it was built, the structure would have seated at the base of the south slope of Templo Mayor Temple. It would also have been on the central axis, a line connecting the Huitzilopochtli chapel at the top of Templo Mayor, and a gigantic statue of his sister, the goddess Coyolxauhqui, at the bottom. The golden eagle, Aquila crucidos, also known as Itzcuatli, or volcanic eagle, in Nahuatl language spoken by the indigenous people of central Mexico, was an important symbol in Aztec culture. According to historian Pinnock, the eagle was a sacred creature in Aztec thought, and it is believed that it was present at the birth of the sun, hence, the black edges of the wing appeared, and was a symbol of one of the orders of elite warriors in Aztec culture.
A teen exploring an island with a metal detector unearthed the lost treasure of a 10th century king. Two metal detectorists were sweeping Rügen Island off the north coast of Germany in the Baltic Sea. Like all detectorists, people who hunt for buried treasure with metal detectors, they were hoping to find something of historical interest, perhaps even something of value. They definitely came across something. It looked like it was just a piece of modern aluminum, but closer inspection would reveal something much more exciting. Metal detecting is an increasingly popular hobby underpinned by the romantic idea of finding buried treasure, a powerful motive for detectorists around the world. Steve Critchley has been pursuing his metal detecting pastime in the UK for 40 years. He gave a realistic perspective on the chances of finding anything valuable in an interview with The Independent in 2017. There are some people who think that it's a way to make easy money, Critchley told the British newspaper. I tell them that they're better off putting a pound on the lottery. The odds are much better than expecting to find something valuable while metal detecting. Those two detectorists on that German island in January 2018 were teacher René Schon and one of his students, 13-year-old Luca Malakashko. And the treasure hunters figured that the twisted piece of metal, which they at first thought to be a piece of everyday aluminum, was worth closer inspection. It turned out that this was a good call indeed, because what they had stumbled upon wasn't an everyday piece of aluminum at all. As they quickly realized, what they had found was actually a piece of silver. And so, the two alerted the Mecklenburg West Pomerania Government Archaeology Department about their discovery. In April 2018, the professionals got to work with an extensive excavation of the site where Sean and Malakashko had found the fragment of silver. They explored an area covering some 4,300 square feet, and what they found made waves around the world. What the archaeologists came across was no less than a massive Viking-era treasure hoard with a glittering array of artifacts dating in years and more. This astonishing discovery included jewelry such as rings, brooches, bracelets, and necklaces. There was also a silver amulet fashioned in the form of Mjolnir, the Norse god Thor's hammer. As well as this exquisite collection of jewelry, the archaeologists also uncovered some 600 coins. Around 100 of those dated back to the time of a 10th century king who ruled over parts of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and the north of Germany. We'll hear more about this king in a moment. The oldest of these coins was a dirham from the city of Damascus in modern-day Syria with the date 714. The newest of the coins, a penny, dates from 983. Some of the silver coins have a Christian cross motif, identifying them as some of the earliest currency specifically from the Kingdom of Denmark. So who was this 10th century king who the archaeologists believe could possibly have been the owner of this treasure? Step forward King Harald, fascinating figure in a turbulent period when the Vikings held sway over much of Scandinavia as well as other parts of Europe. Harald Bluetooth was the first king of a properly united Denmark, ruling from around 958. He was the son of Thera Demidod and King Gorm the Old, and he's credited with not only uniting Denmark, but also with introducing Christianity to the country. Nobody is quite sure why Harald Gormson, to give his formal name, was called Bluetooth. The best known theory is that he had a visibly bad tooth, which may have been blackish blue in color. In any case, Harald is remembered as the founder of a Danish empire that stretched beyond the boundaries of modern-day Denmark. And the importance of this find is undoubtable. Speaking to DPA, the chief archaeologist at the dig, Michael Shurin, said, "The trove is the biggest single discovery of Bluetooth coins in the southern Baltic Sea region and is therefore of great significance." Harold certainly left his mark on Scandinavia. He built a series of massive monuments inscribed with runic writing and carving called the Jellystones. He built a series of massive monuments inscribed with runic writing and carving called the Jellingstones. He was also an enthusiastic builder of forts, probably as a way of reinforcing his rule over his dominions. One of the king's most impressive construction projects was fortification on Zealand, an island off the Danish mainland which today is the site of part of Denmark's capital, Copenhagen. Excavated from the 1930s, Trelleborg is a typical and highly impressive Viking ring castle. The king's reign was far from peaceful, and he found himself in frequent conflict with other would-be rulers. Harold himself had seized control of Norway after the murder of the Norwegian king, Harald Greycoat. The Danish king then lost Norway after he was defeated in battle in 974 by German forces. He managed to wrest back control in 983. But even though Harold had managed to best the Germans, things only got worse for the king, and this time his problems came from within his own family. His son, the splendidly named Sven Forkbeard, took up arms against him, and the older man was forced to flee to northern Germany. Svein caught up with him, and Harold was killed in battle in 985 or 986. And it's Harold's flight from northern Germany and the date of the journey that means we can make at least a tentative link between this treasure and the king himself. One of the archaeologists, Delef Zadsin, was quoted by UK newspaper The Daily Mail as saying, "We have here the rare case of a discovery that appears to corroborate historical sources." If you're thinking that it's just a coincidence that Harold Bluetooth shares his name with Bluetooth wireless technology, think again. The engineers who developed Bluetooth deliberately chose the name in homage to the famous Viking, and the ubiquitous Bluetooth symbol is actually a composite of the runes for H and B, the king's initials. After it had lain buried, perhaps abandoned by Harold himself, for more than 1,000 years, René Schön and Luca Masakako made their unbelievably lucky discovery. But before you invest in metal detecting kit and rush off to hunt for treasure, it's best that you remember experienced detectorist Steve Critchie's sage advice. You're probably better off buying a lottery ticket.